Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free, impartial advice on all your debt.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special.
This is AHMED for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. I'm joined by Frank Warren. Big weekend in British boxing, world boxing. Frank, what did you make of Anthony Joshua's stoppage win?
Yeah, he did what he had to do. He got rid of Pulev and hopefully set up the big fight for next year.
Yeah, of course, we will come on to that in a second. But in terms of his performance, a lot of people obviously had their eyes on it after the first Ruiz fight, the second Ruiz fight. Do you think he's still got a few demons from the first Ruiz fight, Frank?
Look, whatever I say, I'm going to get stick for because obviously I'm in the Tyson Fury camp. But yeah, of course there'll be some demons there from that loss that he had. But the fact of the matter is he did what he had to do, which was to win the fight, and that was the most important thing. I thought with the third round when he had him down, he may have finished the fight there and then, but he chose to do it his way, and he was always in control of it. He wasn't flustered or anything, and he did what was expected. I mean, I thought unless Pulev caught him on the chin, he was never going to outbox him, and as I say, done his job.
Did you think the fight should have been stopped in the third round?
Well, the fact of the matter, it could have been, but having said that, it went on, didn't it? It weren't like he was still in it. I'm not saying he was in it, he was still there. So, done what he had to do.
Are you surprised going into that massive third round for AJ, that in the fourth round Joshua kind of didn't step on him more and get the job done within the fourth?
Well, I would have expected to get rid of him, but it reminded me, it was a little bit like when AJ fought Klitschko. When Klitschko put him on the floor, and you'd expected the old Klitschko to have jumped on him and finished the job then, but he didn't do it. It had that similar feel to me about it.
I feel like since then in boxing, people were impressed with the performance, but a lot of the talk as well was, well, has he shown anything in there that would suggest that he troubled Tyson Fury? What's your viewpoint on that?
Look, of course, a guy who can punch like he can punch, he's a big puncher. Of course, he'll trouble anybody if he catches him. And, you've seen that the way he's taken out quite a few of his opponents. But I don't think he could, I look at him and I don't honestly believe he could ever outbox Tyson. I don't think he's got a better jab than Tyson. I don't think he's got a better, I don't think he's got better hand speed than Tyson. But I'm biased. I'm very biased, but I think Tyson all day long has got the beating of him.
Well, you put it a little bit more modestly than Bob Arum. I asked Bob, were you impressed with the performance? You just went, no.
Yeah, well, look, Bob says what he's got to say. I'll say what I've got to say. At the end of the day, the only way we're going to find out is to get them both in the ring. And then, no matter what Bob Arum says, what I say, or Uncle Tom Cobley says, it's all about what they do once they get in the ring together.
Well, what about what Joshua and Fury said? We'll start with Joshua. So, of course, he did the post-fight interview with Sky Sports, and then Fury released a video saying his words. Joshua shit himself in that interview. He kind of didn't answer the question, what Andy Scott was putting to him about wanting the fight. What did you make of Joshua's comment?
I think he was trying to bask. I think he wanted to bask in the glory of what he did rather than talking about Tyson. I think he wanted. I mean, let's get it right, and I mean this with the greatest respect. And I know I'm going to, again, all you trolls and whatever, just put your pot noodles down for a minute. And I mean this in the best possible way. Is that no one was interested in the fight. The only fight we want to see. It's like Tyson fighting Wilder again. We don't want to see that. If it happens, if it happens, we've got to do it. What we want to see is the two guys, the two main men, getting in there, duking it out. That's all we want to see. That's all we're interested in. That's all the public are really interested in. That's what it's all about. That's the best fighting the best. So, the rest of it is a sideshow.
But specifically, what he said, do you think, were you surprised at that interview, Frank, or not?
No, I wasn't, because I felt that he did. I felt that he wanted to live in that moment of what he'd done, and how he'd beaten Pulev. But when it comes down to it, there's been a lot of talk before that fight and for the last year or so, talking about Tyson and him, and a lot of talk about how the fights were going to be made and the splits and so forth. But at the end of the day, where'd you go now? You've got to do the fight. There's no ducking and diving now. The fight's got to happen. There's no... if AJ doesn't take this fight, then I'd be very surprised. I think he's a fighting man, so I don't think he's, how can he not take that fight now? That's the fight that we all want to see. It's the fight Tyson wants. It's the fight that all the connections, all of us involved want. All the different people are involved in with their various capacities as promoters, managers, and the fighters. More importantly, they want it, and that's what the public wants to see. We don't want to see anything else in between now. We want to see the two big guys get it on.
I remember speaking to you before the first Wilder fight. You got that prediction right. I remember speaking to you before the second Wilder fight where you said Fury's going to walk forward at him, be aggressive. You got that right and knock him out. What is your cutthroat prediction? Let's say this fight happens in April 2021, Fury v Joshua, wherever it happens in the world. What is your cutthroat prediction, Frank?
I genuinely do believe Tyson will knock him out. But, I'm sure AJ and his connections think something different. But the only way we're going to find out is to get it on.
That's true.
Get it on.
So what happens from here? We heard Bob Arum saying that he will talk to Eddie Hearn on Monday, so today he'll reach out to him. Has there been any communication between Team Joshua, Matchroom, etc., and yourselves so far?
But I don't think anybody wants to do the negotiation through the media. There have been connections. From our side, there is obviously we're involved, and you've got MTK and you've got Bob Arum, and obviously the main man himself is Tyson. The other side, you've got AJ and you've got Matchroom. So between us, we've got to make it work, and we will do that. There have been some talks, and I don't want to get into all the ins and outs of it, because I think it's all pretty much irrelevant, because at the end of the day, what matters is delivering the big fight.
No, I respect that totally, and I think fans will appreciate that as well, because, we'd rather get the fight on, less talk, rather than everyone talking. But in your honest heart of hearts, do you think this fight will happen, Frank?
In my heart of hearts, I do think so. I do think it'll happen, because I don't think anybody can afford to pull out of this fight, because if they do, they're going to look very foolish. And one thing's for sure, our side of the table, all the people I've mentioned, who are involved in our side of the table, none of them have any intention of not making this fight happen.
I've spoken to you numerous times about this, and Bob Arum, this situation with Deontay Wilder, this legal process. Is there any update on that? Because that does seem an obstacle.
No, there hasn't been anything. I'm sure something's going to come out pretty soon. But you know what? I hope that's not going to... I hope that the advice that everybody's getting that there is no longer a contract is correct, and if it is, then great. If there is a contract, I think, again, it's something we've got to work really hard on to make sure that we can do a deal somehow to push it aside.
And of course, the other obstacle is the WBO situation. But I think you said countless times, this is about the fight and not what is on the line in terms of organisation belts.
Look, we all want the 4 belts to be on the line, but it is the fight. People don't buy tickets to see belts; they buy tickets to see the guys. And this transcends everything in boxing. It transcends all the belts, and I mean that with the greatest respect to the various governing bodies, but it transcends them all. That's the fight we all want to see. If Usyk doesn't fight, if he vacates, then he's got to fight Joe Joyce. That's what happens. That's where we're at. So I hope that, again, bearing in mind Usyk is with Matchroom, that's something they can resolve and sort out. They should be able to do that, because if the boot was on the other foot, we would certainly make sure that we move that barrier away.
I think an ideal situation would be we get Fury v Joshua for the undisputed tag. The next day, the winner then vacates, and then Alexander Usyk and Joe Joyce fight for that WBO title. That would be something, wouldn't it?
Well, it would, or alternatively, they could fight for for an interim title.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things can happen. There's loads of different permutations, but do you know what? I think, and I mean this with the greatest respect to Usyk and greatest respect to Joe, the public want to see the big fight that we're all talking about. And then once that's done, then we'll push for our guy. And our guy is Joe Joyce. I mean, we'll move heaven and earth to make him for the position that he's in, to make sure something happens.
Have you spoken to Tyson since Saturday night?
No, I haven't.
What did you make of the return of fans there, 1,000 fans at Wembley Arena?
Well, we had fans at the show, but we gave all the tickets away, didn't we? We gave our tickets away to fans at a church house. That was the first one back. But it's great. I mean, it's great to get fans. I mean, even watching the football and seeing the fans there, it makes a big difference, unless you're an Arsenal supporter and then you want to slash your throat. But it is... you want fans back, don't we? And that's why, I mean, people just keep saying they get this fight on. We want to move on quick, get it done. But that's the live gate or the revenue for a live gate is a massive facet to the negotiations.
Just the last one on this Fury Joshua one before we talk about other things. Location wise, what is your gut feeling?
I don't think I hope I'm wrong, and I really do want to be wrong, but I don't think we're going to get any fans back on a large scale until June. With the vaccinations and all what's going on. I mean, they're talking about locking down London tomorrow. They closed the schools some of the schools in London. So I don't see, and I'm an optimist, but I don't see anything happening till June. So it's wherever we can, or the promotion can generate the most income to ensure that we get it over the line.
I think this is a situation where you just present the fight to multiple territories and the best offer wins, really.
No, we're in unique and unusual times. No one knows what's going to happen from week to week. We were talking about in London having lifting the lockdown tier 2, whatever it was, until Christmas. Here we are, over a week away to Christmas. We're back down to more or less a lockdown. Yeah. So who knows? None of us are mind readers. Nobody can predict this. Not the scientists, not the government in any country. Sweden, who had was the model for it all. They're locked down. Germany's just locked down. Nobody can predict where we are. So I think the only certainties that you can hope for is, as far as the gate's concerned, if somebody comes in and said, right, we want it in our country to do it, then you've got to give that a lot of consideration. Or, as I say, you've got to wait till the summer to do it in the UK. But I think the terms are the main thing to get sorted out, and everybody's working hard to make that happen.
Okay, just before I let you go, I want to get some quick updates on your fighter. So Daniel Dubois, how is he?
Yeah, he's obviously, he's as you know, he had the problems with his eye, the double fracture and the bleeding on the retina. He's got to take time out and let that heal. I think see the specialist again tomorrow, and we'll know more then. But he's going to be out of action for at least 5 or 6 months minimum.
Okay. Anthony Yarde, have you spoken to him since his loss with Lyndon Arthur?
I spoke to him a couple of times. Yeah.
He put a tweet out, Frank. I don't know if you saw or someone sent it to you. Okay. He said, for anyone who hasn't seen it, he said it's time to make some changes. Full stop. What do you think that's about?
I don't know. To be quite honest, I want to sit down with a team. When I say the team, that's all of us. That's the promoters, managers, trainers, and obviously the main man himself, in Anthony, and have a good chat. We need a good chat.
You're confident this rematch with Lyndon Arthur will happen? And also another point on that, people have been a little bit critical because this was a Commonwealth title fight. People feel like there shouldn't have been a rematch clause for Yarde Arthur. Do you want to just address that as well, please, Frank?
Well, look, I mean this again with the greatest respect. It wasn't about the Commonwealth title. The guy just fought for last year for a world title, and he was ranked in the top 10. And I mean, again, with the greatest respect, that was more important than the Commonwealth title. The Commonwealth title was was on the line because obviously it was made at a weight. I don't get the criticism. We deliver. We're promoters. We delivered a fight that was 50-50, and you can't win. I mean, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You put a fight on, you give the fans what they want, And obviously, then you see some of the stuff that goes out and putting out about, who we favour and so forth. You've got to remember that any TV company and ourselves, to a certain extent, if you've got somebody who's more well-known than the other fighter, and let's be realistic, Anthony was a far better-known fighter than Lyndon was, but remember, no one sort of give us a little bit of pat on the back for the 16 wins that Lyndon got underneath it, working with us. But if you have a situation where they are, where you're looking at the ratings and what they deliver on TV, Anthony Yarde's ratings on BT are far in excess, in a big number, than Lyndon's ever got.
Well, he's one of the biggest names in British boxing, Anthony Yarde.
Yeah, he is, but as a result of all that promotion, and we're going to meet, I'm meeting with Pat and Lyndon, I think next week. As a result of all that promotion, there are eyeballs watching that. More eyeballs watched that, I think, than Billy Joe Saunders' fight the night before. There are people watching that, and as a result of that, they now know who Lyndon Arthur is. So that's great. And would there be a rematch? It's contracted for a rematch. That was the deal. That's what it was. One had the Commonwealth title, the other guy had the big rating. One had a more of a name than Anthony Yarde had a bigger name than Lyndon Arthur. That's a fact. I can't, that is how it is. That was life. That's how it was. But now it's changed, and obviously things change. And Lyndon's with us, and we're promoting him. As we said, the winner of that fight's going to have a big year next year, and we'll work very hard to make that happen. And there is a contracted rematch, so we've got to sit down and we've got a lot to talk about.
Last question, Frank. Two massive fights, hopefully, for TOBY fighters next year. Two world title fights, Carl Frampton, Jamel Herring. That seems like it will happen. What about Demetrius Andrade and Liam Williams? What's going on with that?
Well, there's talk at the moment about Andrade fighting Billy Joe Saunders. We'll see whether that happens. But if Liam doesn't get that fight, then I would believe he'll fight for some sort of interim title if they make the fight with Andrade and Billy Joe Saunders. We'll see what happens. Okay. But Liam's not going to get left behind. Liam's worked very hard, and when we before this COVID situation started, it was all about they were putting purse bids out for the fight between Andrade and Liam. And Liam's come out and had a fight since then. He's been active, so we'll make sure. Liam's been with me from day one as me promoting him, and I'll do everything I can. I know along with his management, MTK, we'll work very hard to deliver, and I will certainly work hard to deliver what I said I will with him.
Frampton Herring in the UK?
I hope so. It's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about how it stacks up, but that's what we're looking to do. And Bob Arum Bob Arum has come out on about 3 or 4 occasions, said the fight's going to go on at the end of January, he said, in England. So that's where we are.
Frank Warren, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. I won't see you before Christmas. Have a great Christmas, and we'll catch up in the new year, all right?
And you and all the viewers, have a lovely Christmas, and let's have a healthy, safe, and prosperous new year with some really good fights.
Thank you, Frank.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special.
Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free, impartial advice on all your debt.